It's 42 days to the election 2020. Hello and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios at Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, at digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country, including ATL FM in Cape Coast, Radio Max Takrady, and around the world at myjoyonline.com. Coming up, police service comes under criticism from security experts for failing to avert violence in hotspots ahead of the December polls, following clash between NPP and NDC supporters in Ododo-Diodio constituency.
The level of police protection was higher than what probably pertained yesterday.
We'll hear from them as the two sides continue to point accusing fingers at each other over the violence. Meanwhile, the Ghana Police Service says it is working to ensure incidents like yesterday's violence at Ododo-Diodio do not recur before, during or after election. We'll hear from Director of Operations of the Ghana Police Service.
At Ododo-Diodio, we're looking at that and we continue always moving on to see how all those issues will influence our deployment. All of the make fresh arrest in murder of UG Law Professor Yao Bene. Meanwhile, another suspect in custody has been hospitalized barely 2 weeks after the prime suspect died while on admission at the police hospital. We'll tell you more.
In sports, doping in Ghana football's lower divisions. We'll hear from a young footballer on his performance-enhancing cocktail of tramadol, an energy drink.
Tramadol 500 grams ni 2 kana me go energy drink one, I'm good to go. Unim same of barber show and I say we'll step up game.
And also coming up as we celebrate 25 years of impactful journalism, we'll tell you the story of Israel Lai, one of Ghana's longest serving broadcasters, and why he has spent nearly 2 decades here at Joy.
The company stood by me and lost that much money, all because of a story I had, and it was at that point I told myself, yes, this is the place to be.
All of that and more coming up here on the Midday News with me, Gifty Andoh-Appiah. Let's settle for the details now. Security experts say the Ghana Police Service must be blamed for failing to avert violence in hotspots ahead of the December polls. This comes after the clash between NPP and NDC supporters in Ododo-Diodio constituency. UN Senior Mediation Advisor Emmanuel Bombande and security analyst Colonel Festus Abuaje say yesterday's violence could have been averted. We'll hear from them shortly, but let's get the latest on the situation. Executives of both sides have pointed accusing fingers at each other. My colleague Benjamin Akapo was at the scene earlier today. He joins me in studio. Benjamin, you were on the ground. What did you see and what did the residents tell you about this incident?
Well, chaotic scenes actually. So you would see the debris, shattered glass and a whole lot on the Atta Mills High Street in Jamestown. And upon interacting with some of them, the sort of reactions, a lot of them saying that this is not what they want to see in their community. They want peace ahead of election 2020. You could feel it, that they were very distraught at what had happened. But the reportage, interesting from different sides, because when you ask those more affiliated, so to speak, with the NDC, they would say that the attack started with the MPP. When you speak to the other side, they tell you it was the NDC that started with the attacks. But one thing for sure, the office of the MPP has been vandalized. That is on the Atta Mills High Street. It's been vandalized. A 40-inch television has been smashed. You can tell these were stones or some other hard objects that actually hit it. They said they had a fridge in there. The fridge is no longer there. It's been carted off. And there are 2 sheds of the NDC, also very close, actually. They're all on the same stretch. All of them also vandalized. So who exactly started this and who engaged in a reprisal, we cannot say for certain, but there was quite an exchange there, and the entire scene is a bit of a mess.
Well, the NPP executive in the area addressed a news conference this morning on this matter. What exactly have they been saying?
So, in effect, Neelante Bannerman, who is the parliamentary candidate for the MPP, has been laying the blame squarely at the doorstep of Neelante Vanderpoy, who is actually the member of parliament for that constituency. And he's simply saying that since Neil Andoh-Appiah assumed the reins as a member of parliament, there's never been peace in Ododo-Diodio, that he has been fomenting all of these violent attacks. In fact, Neil Andoh-Appiah goes on to point to the fact that there was this assertion made by some of the MPP supporters that there was a tricycle full of cartons with broken, bottles in it that were eventually thrown at the MPP office. And Neil Andoh-Appiah supported that. The matter, though, has been reported by the MPP. They've lodged a complaint at the Jamestown police station concerning the incident.
I take this opportunity to condemn in no uncertain terms the unwarranted attacks on our members, other innocent citizens of the constituencies, our bases and my private office in the constituency. I hereby call on the police to, as a matter of urgency, arrest these NDC thugs and let the law take its due course to serve as a deterrent to their likes.
So that's Neil Andoh-Appiah speaking there.
Yes, indeed. And he was, reiterating the fact that the problems stemming from, all these incidents are on the back of what Neil Andoh-Appiah has been fomenting. We'll
certainly be hearing from that side. Well, the NDC has been accusing their opponents as well. And scores of the supporters are receiving treatment at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital following that clash. My colleague Manuel Kranting was there. He joins us here in the studio as well. Manuel, let's start with the condition of the injured and how many you could count.
Well, as of the time I got there were just about 2 of them who were still on admission. Okay. I'm told that about 15 of them were brought to the hospital yesterday with various degrees of injuries, but 13 of them have been discharged after being treated. The remaining 2 are responding to treatment, but we know that one of them, is injured from a gunshot wound, and then the other tells me that he was riding a motorbike and was crossed by another vehicle suspected to have been occupied by MPP supporters and rammed into a glass sieve.
You have been speaking to Isaka Niamu Collison Kofi, the Ododo-Diodio constituency vice chairman of the NDC. What did he tell you?
Well, apart from the fact that the NDC is going to absorb the entire cost of treatment for all the injured folks who are suspected to have been from their party, he's been laying the blame at the feet of the NPP and says that this might have been a preconceived attempt to just, foment trouble and disrupt their peaceful work.
What I saw was that I saw New Mass, which we popularly called 10G, with his guys numbering about 7 or 10. Running, and the police was there. I could mention the Jamestown station officer, which we popularly called him Blackie. There were other police officers, Broby and co. We were with them to just calm tension down. That look, this is just a peaceful walk, so just allow the people to fight. But unfortunately, if you see the videos that is happening at this base, you could see that there are crates of bottles that have been packed under the NPP base. There are even sacks which contains bottles. What it tells you is that you cannot tell me that if you've not planned for something, all of a sudden or immediately you will get crates of bottles or sacks of bottles under your base. What is the intention? What was the purpose?
So that's Niamu Collison Kofi, the Ododo-Diodio constituency vice chairman for the NDC, speaking to Manuel Kranting there, who's been here in the studio. Well, what is the police doing about this? The Greater Accra Region Police PRO, Ifiatenge, says the incident is under investigation.
So far, 10 persons have reported various degrees of injuries and are receiving treatment at the hospital, though we are told by the medical doctors that they are responding to treatment. Again, one tricycle was also set ablaze during the rioting. No arrests have been made yet, but the situation is calm and efforts are underway to get some persons whose names have been mentioned for allegedly initiating the fight arrested as investigation continues. Meanwhile, the police have also intensified its presence in the area to prevent any kind of reprisal attack.
DSP Ifiatenge speaks for the Accra Region Police, but security analyst Colonel Festus Abuaji is saying the violence in the Ododo-Diodio constituency between supporters of the NPP and NDC could have been avoided if the police had upped its presence in the area following the listing of that constituency as a hotspot. Speaking on News Desk on Joy News a while ago, the security analyst added that the NDC should have avoided that route.
It's something that could have been avoided if certain considerations had been made. One One of them is if the level of police protection was higher than what probably pertained yesterday. Secondly, I think not many people would agree with me, and certainly not the NDC, but when marches of this nature are organized, sometimes out of good judgment, you select a route that avoids places that are known to be associated with your opposition. So assuming that they had gone from Opera Square to Accra to the other routes and not return via the Atta Mills Highway, precisely the High Street area going towards so-called Blue Gate, probably this wouldn't have happened.
That's Colonel Festus Abuaje. Colonel Festus Abuaje, I beg your pardon there. He's a security expert speaking earlier on News Desk on Joy News. Well, on his part, conflict resolution expert Emmanuel Bombande is worried about the lack of confidence of the public in the police. He blames it on the dwindling professionalism on the part of the service. This comes at the back of the police identifying hotspots ahead of the December polls. According to Mr. Bombande, the public fear the police may conduct its duties in favor of party divisions.
Their professionalism, the public would be weighing whether or not there is confidence in the police based on their track record preceding and moving into the last stretch. And there is no question about the fact that the police have been found wanting. One, there have been incidences, but the public is not updated to know where the investigations have arrived. And some of those incidences, I'm talking about the incidences of 2 deaths during the voter registration exercise. I'm talking about the incidences in Central Region where 4 people were arrested by the police, but then a Minister of State came forward to say she's responsible for the shooting. And that's the last time the public heard about what really happened. What have the police done so that there is a closure to that incident for them to have the public confidence that they are executing their roles professionally?
That's conflict resolution expert Emmanuel Bombande there. We still stay on this matter. The Ghana Police Service says it is working to ensure incidents like yesterday's violence in our constituency do not occur before, during or after the elections. Director of Operations of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. Saibu Pebi Gariba, says the National Security Task Force is paying keen attention to such incidents and lessons learned will inform deployment on election day. He's been speaking at a forum on peace and security organized by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs.
The National Election Security Task Force keep on to review their strategy, also look at issues that are happening in the country. Even with yesterday's clashes with at Ododo, we looking at that and we continue always moving on to see how all those issues will influence our deployment. These are areas of interest based upon the lessons learned that we did for the voter registration exercise. It is important for us to know that we're going to factor that into our deployment and so many other issues. We want you to be assured that whatever has happened, taking note into that, factor them into our security strategy, and it will inform our deployment.
You heard Director of Operations of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. Saibu Pebi Gariba. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is there and he joins me on the line with more. Joseph, what have other leaders in Parliament been saying about tackling the political violence in the country?
The majority leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, has been expressing concern that there's been a number of incidents that are election-related but also violence and death-related, citing the death of the Infantman MP, and also incidents of threats on MPs and other candidates, including himself, as far as the campaigning is concerned. And he's been asking that the police sit up, tighten their intelligence, and put in the necessary mechanisms to avert any situation of violence as we approach the elections. As well, the ranking member on Parliament Constitution and Legal Affairs Committee, Inusa Husseini, has been asking that the police exhibit the highest standards of professionalism even as the nation goes into this election. And he's been noting that it's in their hands that the security of the country lies, and unless they do their job best, then the nation is in trouble.
And that's Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who's joining us from the venue of that forum ongoing right now. We're still staying on security here on the Midday News. Now, an accused person put before the Kaneshie District Court in connection with the murder of law professor Emmanuel Yaubene is said to have fallen ill and currently on admission at the police hospital. This development comes barely 2 weeks after another accused person, James Nanawumba, died after falling ill and being admitted at the same hospital. Police prosecutors, meanwhile, say another suspect has been apprehended. Court correspondent Joseph Akabley is here in the studio with more. Joseph, first tell us more about the new arrest.
And so this gentleman is by the name Ebenezer Kweyisi. He was named by the late James Wamba as one of his accomplices, and so he has been arrested and was put before the court and charged with murder and conspiracy to cause murder. And so he has been remanded in the custody of the police. And
speaking of James, he died in hospital. Do we know what specifically is wrong with the other accused person who we now know has fallen ill?
And so first on James, the police prosecutors informed the court that they've carried out an autopsy. The result is not out yet, and so they are waiting for that. In terms of the other accused person, or Pambo Ejabedu in cancer, who is unwell, we don't know the condition, but we are told that he took ill and was also rushed to the police hospital and is currently receiving treatment. And so the expectation is that he'll be able to recover and the trial will continue on November 9.
Joseph, thank you very much. Joseph Akabley is our court correspondent, bringing us up to speed on that particular incident. They will keep our eyes on it to update you subsequently. Meanwhile, the IGP is in the OT region. We'll bring you updates on his activities there. Right now, let's move on with some other stories. Now, with a housing deficit of over 2 million, the country requires 70,000 housing units to meet the demand. But inadequate regulation and high cost of houses built for sale has left 1/3 of Ghanaians living in unsanitary conditions. Government is, however, hoping to deal with it with the introduction of the Mortgage Financing Fund. At the start of his 2-day tour of the Greater Accra region, President Akufo-Addo commissioned a 204 housing unit financed by the Tema Development Corporation and a consortium of banks at a cost of 45 million cedis. He's been addressing the gathering at Tema Community 22.
And the housing deficit has now exceeded 2 million housing units. The housing sector deficit is the result of our inability to deal with the high population growth and rising rural-urban migration, among others. Homes are often prohibitively expensive for the average Ghanaian family, and the lack of a robust mortgage market denies workers the chance to finance purchases of homes. Mortgages are currently only available to a very small segment of our population and are often at interest rates above 28%.
President Akufo-Addo, let's go on the lines and speak to Presidential Affairs Correspondent Elton Brobe. Elton, we understand that Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been making some assurances regarding housing. Tell us about it.
So for the Finance Minister, the government going forward, and especially if the MPP is elected in the forthcoming elections, they will look at housing as a major economic activity in the next government of the MPP administration, because they are looking at replicating this project in the other regions. And for those in the public sector who may want to own a property at Community 22, which has just been commissioned by President Akufo-Addo, it will set you back between 170 and 240,000 Ghana cedis for a studio and a 2-bedroom apartment. But it has also been made flexible by Ghana Commission because they have underwritten the mortgage policy. So what it has introduced is a rent-to-own policy, which means that you pay the rent if you go to offset the money that GCB has invested into this project and eventually will become yours. Finance Minister is hoping that the government will look at the other regions and construct similar projects to afford public sector workers the opportunity to own their own houses in the foreseeable future.
The National Housing Mortgage Fund will expand this initiative across the country to ensure affordable housing in the post-COVID-19 era to improve the country's resilience. Aside from the obvious objective of providing decent accommodation, embarking on major housing projects is a universal strategy used by governments to generate jobs and economic activity. In fact, housing is the most visible transformative index for socio-economic transformation of most cities. It also leads to improved income and productivity. Clearly, the impact of housing on the economy can therefore not be understated. The next Akufo-Addo-led government, God willing, from 2021 will prioritize housing as the biggest economic activity. We have done the year of roads. We will leave a legacy of houses and hospitals for our people.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta there. Meanwhile, NDC's presidential candidate John Mahama, who has wrapped up his tour of the Western region, says the next NDC administration will be committed to building a nation that creates opportunities for all Ghanaians, but not a privileged few.
I come before you to ask for your votes. Together, we can build a nation that creates opportunities for all of us, not just a privileged few. That will improve our living standards and reduce the hardship that has been brought on us by this government. Just like you, I believe everybody, all of us, should have access to health care. And this is why the NDC will be rolling out a free primary health care plan for all.
As the former president, he is also expected to meet with professionals from across the board later this evening. A similar event was held for his running mate last week. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM and across the country at myjoyonline.com, and on our dozen of affiliate stories gone by. Police service comes under criticism from security experts for failing to avert violence in hospitals ahead of the December polls. And still to come, we'll tell you the story of Israel Lai as we celebrate 25 years of impactful journalism. We'll tell you why one of Ghana's longest serving broadcasters spent nearly 2 decades here at Joy and still counting.
The company stood by me and lost that much money, all because of a story I had. And it was at that point that I told myself, yeah, this is a place to be.
Fellow Ghanaians, small businesses grow Ghana's economy to help make it big. They give us jobs in our communities. Since 2017, the MPP has raised money and given training and contracts to women-owned small businesses. This December, remember your vote will make a difference in securing the jobs of millions of Ghanaians who are working thanks to NAPCO, Planting for Food and Jobs. One district, one factory. Let's protect our progress. Vote NPP. Vote Nana Akufo-Addo for 4 more years to do more for you.
Hey, Charlie, my network is really killing me. I have to pay my uncle's workers mobile money, but the charges alone, it's about 380 cedis. Charges alone just to send money? That's $10 of cement already, my guy. Listen, bro, you can save money on charges if you move to Vodafone Cash now. Vodafone Cash? But my network is... Hey, sending money on that your network, you pay. Sending money on your network to other networks, you pay. But guess what? Sending money on Vodafone Cash is free. Sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is also absolutely free. No charges at all on Vodafone Cash. So tell me, what are you still doing on that your network? Massa, look sharp, then move to Vodafone Cash. Hey, make a change the SIM right now. Yes, sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is now absolutely free. Send unlimited amounts of money as many times as you like for free. Just dial *110# now to send money.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Many people have lost their jobs since 2017. The next NDC government, led by John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, will work hard to provide jobs for all. Here is our plan. Under our Ejumapa policy, we will create a minimum of 250,000 decent and sustainable jobs every year. That's a minimum of 1 million permanent and well-paying jobs. Jumapa, in 4 years in the financial services sector, such as banking and insurance, construction, agriculture and agribusiness, ICT, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, tourism, tree crops, waste management and sanitation, and coastal landscape and forest management, among others. Those who also want to learn a craft will be enrolled under the NDC's state-sponsored National Apprenticeship Program. We will also give them the tools kits needed to start their businesses upon completion of their apprenticeship. NAPCO beneficiaries will also be made permanent public sector workers. This is our plan for jobs. Vote John Mahama. Vote NDC.
You're welcome back to the Midday News. I am Gifty Andoh-Appiah, and Hans Mensa Ando is here with sports. Hans.
Now, it may not be a crisis, but the use of performance-enhancing substances is gaining roots in Ghana sports, especially in the lower divisions of football. 22-year-old Joel plays for a second division team here in Accra, and he tells me about how he mixes tramadol, an energy drink loaded with caffeine, for the purpose of boosting performance.
Drugs ni biwa oko pharmacy se oton abia ye nton ma se me call pharmacy akoto tramadol anabibi no ye ni se me bobo and then me mpese bia obi be hu me se me yesa ntino ye omo bia ye soma soma omo ye time ye nom no untumi nom na right away bia enyi juma sa ntino some hours before training sessions and I say before game se minya tramadol na 500 gram ni 2 kana me digu energy drink mo.
Now, meanwhile, sports medical practitioner Dr. Prince Pambo says while Ghana cannot be said to have a doping problem, its existence cannot be denied because of the lack of a proper testing regime.
I'm sure most sports persons who will be listening would think that, oh, but has doping been a problem? Yes, it's not been a problem because we are not testing and we don't know what the boys are engaged in, all right, and it's destroying a lot of them. The Division 3s and the Division 2s who are not able to make it to Division 1 and Premier, you go to some of, in quotes, our towns and villages, they are there. Okay, they will tell you he's a footballer in the village. He smoked weed for 30 years. So if we manage to begin to want to solve the problems, looking at it from the doping angle, we will solve a lot of national problems as well.
As sports medical practitioner Dr. Prince Pambo, that's your sports.
That's it, and thank you very much, Hans Mensa Ando. Now to an exciting story. 14 multimedia journalists who picked awards at the GJA Awards ceremony on Saturday say they have been challenged to continue impacting lives of people. Here is a news desk report on the other winners of the night. David Ando of MyJoyOnline.com picked the Photojournalist of the Year award. Kwame Enum of Adom FM was given the Small and Micro-Scale Enterprises Award. Health reporting went to Efia Mankwa Tamaklo of Adom FM, and sports reporting also went to Adom FM's Kojo Mensah Abrompe. Disability reporting was picked by Samuel Alfred Amo of Adom FM. Transport and road safety reporting was picked by Kojo Mensah Abrompe of Adom TV. Irene Emefa Apau of Joy News and Akua Boachua Yadom Adom TV were honored for their exceptional COVID-19 reporting. Ekosi Sen on Asempa FM was the political program of the year. And that's the news desk report. Congratulations to all the award winners, but the big award of the night went to Samson Ladi Anyenene, who is the Journalist of the Year 2019. Now, he's one of the pioneers in Ghana's private broadcasting sector and is still in active practice, hoping to retire with a multimedia group. Israel Lai has seen it all in journalism, but what brought him here and why has he stayed on for close to 2 decades now? For our 25 years anniversary, my colleague Justice Bedu set out to find out in this report.
Growing up, I wanted to become a pilot because I had this uncle who was working with the United Nations, and he traveled a lot, and he told us tales about aeroplanes and the fact that you get whatever you wanted in an aeroplane, as far as food is concerned. I was a hungry boy at the time, so I thought, okay, so if he, a passenger, could get whatever he wanted on a plane, then how much more the pilot?
In 2004, Israel came to Joy News in a fairy tale scenario.
So I actually approached Joy FM through Komlado. He came to TV3 one time for an interview, and when he was leaving, I had a conversation with him and I asked him, what does he think? I'm thinking about, coming to do something with Joy. And he said, yeah, why not?
One line.
So from this
Israel was part of what became a golden generation of journalists and broadcasters who made Joy News the standard of journalism in Ghana. Today, Easy, as he is called by many, remains one of the country's private broadcasters who are still in active work. So what has kept him here for this whole time?
It's because here at Joy News, I believe that we can practice the journalism the way it should be practiced.
And that's the Israel Live story put together by Justice Bedu. Mapitso Savidi is here. Mapitso, what's going on?
In showbiz, award-winning Ras Kuku has been monitoring some electoral violence issues and has a peace message for us.
Anyone who follows the politicians and go and fight is Banku. He is Banku.
Yeah.
You are not in You are Banku. If you follow and go and fight and lose your life, don't go there, don't fight. Go and vote and go house and relax.
That's it for showbiz.
Thank you very much, Mapitso. And, well, that's it for the news. At 1 p.m., by the way, there is business, and you want to stay tuned for that. Well, our top story this hour, police service comes under criticism from security experts for failing to avert violence in hotspots ahead of the December polls following clash between NPP and NDC supporters in the Ododo-Diodio constituency. There is more news at myjoyonline.com. If you do log on. And after the bulletin, Pastor Mensa Otabo will come your way with a word on generation, from generation to generation. Now will be the first part. I am Gifty Andoh-Appiah. As a responsible station, Joy News will continue to advocate for peaceful elections. We'll leave you with a message from MP for Efutu, Alexander Afenyo Markin. Enjoy your day.
The initiative of Joy FM in preaching peace in this election